There's this unwritten rule in hi-fi that separates are always better than integrated components, but that's not actually true. It depends on the engineering. The separate versus integrated debate has become ad nauseum at this point, when the real question should be, was it designed well? If you treat separates as the only legitimate path to great sound, you'll miss out on properly engineered integrated systems that outperform mediocre separates at that same price point. You'll either overpay for features you don't need, or worse, you'll settle for lackluster sound because you think that great audio is out of reach. When the NAD C 3050 showed up at my desk for review, I'll admit it, on paper it looked perfect. I review a lot of audio gear and my desk setup has limited space, so I need something that's versatile enough to handle headphones, speakers, streaming, whatever else I'm using to test that week. The C3050 seemed like the ideal solution. Integrated amplifier with BluOS streaming, dedicated headphone output, Phono stage, all in this vintage-inspired chassis that actually looks really good. But here's the thing, I've reviewed enough all-in-one components to be skeptical. Usually when manufacturers try to cram everything into one box at a price point, something gets compromised. Either the headphone amp is an afterthought that can barely drive anything, the Phono stage is noisy, the streaming interface is glitchy, or the actual amplification is just, okay. I anticipated finding the weak link here, ready to write great value, but here's where it falls short. Then I actually started testing it. I plugged in the Dan Clark Audio Noir X planar magnetic headphones. These are notoriously power-hungry headphones that will expose a weak headphone amp instantly. The C3050's dedicated headphone amplifier drove them beautifully. No strain, no distortion, plenty of headroom. Then I tested the Phono stage with the turntable. Ultra low noise, clean, no hum. I streamed high-res music files through BluOS, intuitive app, flawless playback, no dropouts. NAD didn't cheap out on any of these features. This wasn't a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none situation. This was properly engineered integration where each function got the attention it deserved. I already know what you're thinking. Kayla, there's no way a $2,000 amplifier with all those features can actually compete with dedicated separates. Look, I get it, but NAD didn't cut corners. They're using a Texas Instruments PCM 5242 high-resolution DAC, which is the same caliber of conversion that you'll find in components costing thousands more. The hybrid digital UCD amplifier technology inside this baby delivers 100 watts per channel with distortion so low that it's virtually unmeasurable. This isn't budget engineering masquerading as high-end. This is smart engineering that eliminates the markup that you pay for separates and brand prestige. Here's what I discovered testing the C3050 with the Dan Clark Audio Noir X headphones in multiple speaker configurations. This amplifier is dynamic, detailed, and neutral. It doesn't warm up the sound, it doesn't artificially boost the bass, and it doesn't make the highs sparkly for that over-the-top showroom effect. I tested it with Billie Eilish's track The Greatest, and this is a track that exposes problems in the upper mid-range instantly. She has really breathy falsettos that can sound scratchy and almost harsh-like when paired with the wrong gear. The C3050 kept everything musical and clear without any of that harshness. Then I jumped to Travis Scott, Harry Styles, and Zed's Dead. These are three completely different genres with different production styles. You've got modern day pop, EDM electronica, and hip hop. Every track maintained its character flawlessly throughout. The C3050 doesn't impose its own sonic signature on your system, and that matters more than what you might think. Whether you're listening through speakers or headphones, you'll hear details and dynamics that you didn't even know were there. And this attribute is especially true for vinyl enthusiasts. Inside here, you've got an ultra-low noise moving magnet phono stage that preserves the analog character of your recordings without adding grain or losing any detail. Vinyl should sound like vinyl, not like an amplifier's interpretation of vinyl. And I think that is some of the reason why there's such a big debate with vinyl versus digital. That same transparency applies to every source you connect it to, streaming, digital inputs, or analog. The C3050 gets out of the way and it lets your music sound the way that it was meant to sound. But here's where most people sabotage their own system. They spend $2,000 on an amplifier and then they connect it with the stock cables that came in the box. Those cables will get the job done and there's nothing wrong with them, but they won't provide the sonic difference that our Dragon audio cables do. Our Blue Dragon power cable, Black Dragon speaker cable, and Bronze Dragon interconnect cable are all handcrafted with UPOCC metals, void of impurities, and optimized for signal transfer. Your system is only as good as its weakest link, and stock cables shouldn't be that weak link. If you're ready to build a high-end audio system with Dragon cables, reach out to us via the link in the description below. Let me set the scene for you. You and I both buy the same amplifier for our setup. It arrives at our doorsteps and I go to set it up in my basement and you place it in your dedicated listening room. We both follow the same instructions, configure the unit the same way, and connect all of our gear to it, but when we both hit play, we hear two completely different sounds. So, who's got the faulty unit? No one. Here's what people don't realize. Your room is a part of your sound system. Standing waves, reflections, and resonances can turn even $10,000 speakers into a muddy mess. The C3050 includes Dirac Live room correction software, which fixes your room's acoustics without even having to do anything physically to the room at all. Dirac Live uses test tones and advanced algorithms to measure your space and create correction filters that compensate for any acoustic problems. Most audiophiles spend thousands of dollars on acoustic panels and bass traps, but this software does it all digitally. After you set up your C3050, you'll use the BluOS app to run the Dirac Live calibration. You place the measurement microphone in your listening position, let the test run its sequence, and then the software generates custom filters for your exact space. It's a 15-minute process that can transform your sound in ways that physical room treatment would take time, resources, and even more money to achieve. The 1970s inspired design isn't just nostalgia. It's a statement that audio gear doesn't have to look like generic black boxes. Over the last decade, I've noticed a trend in hi-fi audio. As technology advances, designs regress. I've watched components get more and more boring. You got black faceplates, tiny LED displays, and quite literally zero personality. I want a component that strikes conversation and leaves people guessing whether this is the vintage find of the century or just another retro-inspired piece. The C3050 brings dual VU meters, walnut-finished vinyl cladding, and knobs that are actually satisfying to turn. I mean, what screams mid-century modern more than wood paneling? And not to mention, you've got NAD's 1970s vintage logo right here on the front. But beyond aesthetics, there's quite a bit of functionality in this front panel. The VU meters give you that real-time feedback of your signal levels, which is genuinely useful when you're trying to set gain staging or just check dynamic range. You've got everything that you need right here. A 1/4-inch stereo jack, a power button, tone controls, 5 source input buttons for things like phono, line, optical, coax, and HDMI, a speaker knob, a balance control knob, a volume control knob, and then various light indicators. All right, now for the back panel. And as you can tell, we have quite a bit going on back here. You got your Ethernet port, your Wi-Fi antenna, Bluetooth antenna, USB, HDMI eARC, digital audio inputs for optical and coax, phono input, line input, main input, a pre-out, a subwoofer, 2 sets of speaker terminals, service USB port, IR in, trigger out, VU meter switch, and power. So it's safe to say that you've got everything but the kitchen sink on the back panel here. If you're building a hi-fi room setup where aesthetics matter, the C3050 fits into mid-century modern, contemporary, or even industrial design themes. And if you're someone who appreciates the ritual of physical controls instead of scrolling through touchscreens, this amp rewards you with that without sacrificing modern streaming capability. So I leave you with this. Remember, the NAD C3050 proves that you don't have to spend $5,000 or juggle multiple components to get accurate dynamic sound. It's an integrated amplifier that delivers sonic transparency while handling streaming, room correction, phono inputs, and headphone listening. If you want to hear what the C3050 can really do with the right cables, check out our Blue Dragon power cable, Bronze Dragon interconnects, and speaker cables at moon-audio.com. But more importantly, stop believing that great audio has to be complicated or expensive. Start with purpose-built components like the C3050 that prioritize accurate amplification and musical magic above all else. If you enjoyed this video, give it some love with a thumbs up and drop a comment below if you would purchase the C3050. And if you want more honest insights, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Keep that hi-fi train rolling and check out this video where we tour our CEO and founder Drew Barrett's personal listening room filled with vintage and modern hi-fi gear. And if that's not enough vintage-inspired gear for you, be on the lookout for an updated listening room tour. We'll see you here next time. Thanks for watching.